Okay, so we are still going to just give a few more minutes for other people to come on, for other people to join us. I know there were a bunch of people who signed up for watching the replay, and this workshop is interactive, okay? So the more you share in the chat, the better equipped I am to help you move through this process. So that is just what I want to start off with. So as you come on, drop it in the chat and just let us know, say hello and let us know where you're coming from, okay? A few of the people who are already here, I know where you're from, but just let everybody know where you're joining from in the chat. Please and thank you. I'm waiting for you guys in the chat. Hey, there we go. Hey, Lana. I'm so excited you're here. It's really good to see you. And Janessa, awesome. Also from Tel Aviv. Yeah, we've got our Israel crew here. I'm assuming that a lot of the people from abroad are still recovering from whatever they did on New Year's. So it's awesome that you guys are here. Thank you for sharing in the chat. We're going to get started. And so first of all, I want to just say welcome to the Overcome Emotional Eating Workshop. I want to say thank you for having the courage to admit that this is something that you do, because most people aren't really ready to admit it to themselves, and therefore they don't really reach out to get help. So, and I'm also sure that it's been a part of your lives for a pretty long time, as it was for me, and that you didn't necessarily realize there was something you could do about it, except to work on your self-control, which was also me. So I would say that my relationship to food really changed when I went to college, which is the first time that I really gained a lot of weight. As a dancer growing up, eating disorders, and the need to be skinny were just always a part of things that I was hearing and seeing. It was in movies. One of my best friends went to a professional dance school and had a horrible, abusive relationship with food, which led to disordered eating. And so I really saw the effect that it can have firsthand. And while I was personally raised in what I call a food freedom household, which means that we had all kinds of food, from really healthy to the unhealthiest of snacks, like fruit roll-ups and Oreos and Entenmann's donuts. We always had really unhealthy snacks at our fingertips as well. And even though I didn't grow up in a household that was restrictive growing up, I still ended up having a bad relationship with food, a bad relationship with my body, a bad relationship with my emotions. And all of that kind of came together into under the emotional eating bubble when I gained the freshman 15 in college. And so with those extra pounds, food suddenly became the source of being unhappy with my body. And therefore, food had to be restricted. Let me know in the chat, if that was you. You can even just drop a 1 or just say me. That was the moment that all of a sudden, food equaled a big no-no. And so eating snacks started becoming something that I would do behind closed doors, when my roommates couldn't see. And at the time, that behavior wasn't so bad, but looking back, it was just the beginning of a journey of developing a really unhealthy relationship, not only with food, but also with myself. So fast forward, about 5 years or so, and I was living with a boy. That boy is now my husband, but it was the first time that I was living with a person of the opposite sex. And it was, he was and still is a person who somehow, ate 3 meals a day, didn't need any snacks, never, I never found him rummaging through the cabinets, looking for food when he was hungry. He was a person who could eat one cookie and let the whole package just sit on the table in front of him for hours. Like, I'm telling you, for hours on end. Or, and for myself, I, I wanted to be a good, skinny, sexy girlfriend, a girl who didn't eat more than one cookie if he didn't, because how could I ever, sit there and eat more than him? So that kind of developed into, when my husband wasn't home, I developed the habit of rummaging through the cabinets, eating all the snacks in sight, going out to the store specifically to buy candy when I was feeling upset. And it was this like hidden behavior. And now it was no longer just because I had off limits foods and I was restricted with food, but because at the root of it, I was actually really unsatisfied, unfulfilled, angry, sad, frustrated, unhappy in my life. Okay, no connection to my husband, to Tal himself. Like, I was just kind of unhappy with and dissatisfied with like work and the way things were going in my life. And I was using food to suppress a lot of those feelings. So I can also tell you that as a personal trainer in this industry for 8 years, I have tried very restrictive diets, to get the results, to have the 6-pack abs. I suffered from weekend binges myself. And I tell you this because us as trainers, we're often put on a pedestal as, being healthy and having it all together. And I want you to know that we don't. For the most part, most trainers are extremely restrictive with food, do not have a healthy relationship with themselves or their body. And it wasn't until I learned the truth about nutrition and received tools to stop emotional eating that I was really able to overcome it. And while I just shared some very personal information with you, I'm going to just kind of do a short introduction of myself and my background for those of you who don't know me. Even though everyone who is live does know me, but just for anyone catching the replay here. So I'm Alana. I grew up in New York. I moved to Israel 10 and a half years ago, and I've been a trainer for about 8 years. And I opened up my first fitness studio 3 years ago and have been running nutrition and fitness programs since the start of my business 8 years ago. And I brought these programs into the online space about a year ago as a healthy lifestyle mentor, because I'm sure as all of you have made changes during COVID, this was my big change, was to enter the online space and take what I do from just a local market into, internationally. And so I'm also a dancer. I'm a yoga enthusiast. I use my 30 years of experience in dance to really safely train my clients in injury prevention during their workouts, posture, flexibility, breathing techniques. I'm also a huge foodie. I love food. I'm obsessed with cooking and everything that has to do with nutrition, how our bodies operate, and just holistic healthcare practices in general. I've spent many, many years developing my nutrition method after watching not only my clients, but family members suffer from diet culture and trends. And it's really a part of my mission to raise awareness, educate, and help heal this problem in the world. So that's a little bit about me, but enough about me. I want this workshop to be about you, and I want you to get as much out of it as you can. So like I said, this workshop is interactive. I ask that you be present. I ask you to participate in the chat so that I can really help you. So I want you to drop it in the chat and tell me why you are here today. Okay, and if you are doing this from home, just write it down on a piece of paper. Okay, so in the chat, please share. Let me know, why are you here today? While you do that, I'm going to take a sip of water. Why are you here today? What are you hoping to get out of this? I have a pattern of binge eating when things get stressful at work, and would love to break that pattern. Yes. I'm on maternity leave and so stressed with the baby that my eating is out of control. Oh my God, I know so many clients and friends who have that same issue right now. And we are going to help you overcome that. Okay, קשה לי להאמין שיש מישהו שאין לו אכילה רגשית, וזה כולל אותי. Okay, so he says it's hard for him to believe that there's actually somebody who doesn't suffer from emotional eating, including him, and including himself, that he does. And so this is actually, I would say a lot of people do, most people do, but there is another way, and there is another solution, and there is a way out of it. And I really want to actually thank you for sharing that, because before I get into the tools, I'm going to share another story, which I wasn't intending to share today at all. But because you brought that up, I'm going to share it. I had a miscarriage about 3 months ago. And after a few weeks after I had the miscarriage, I found myself with a bag of Doritos like this big, and I ate the entire thing down to the bottom of it. And when I finished that bag of, it wasn't the small ones, it was the big one. And when I got to the bottom of it, I was like, uh-oh, ding, ding, ding. You are suppressing your emotions. And so while I have overcome emotional eating, there are things that can happen in our lives that can trigger us to kind of step back into that old behavior. And what I was able to do using these tools, catch it and turn it into another direction, instead of just letting myself continue down that rabbit hole. Okay, so those are a lot of the tools that you're going to be you getting today to help you overcome it. And then once you do overcome it, even though there are things that might cause it to happen again, you can catch it when it happens. So I want to thank you for bringing that up. Awesome. So now I want you to think back. How many years have you been suffering from emotional eating? Okay, mine was probably 10, 12, I probably had 12 to 14 years of emotional eating myself. Okay, so drop it in the chat. Let me know, how many years would you say that you're suffering from emotional eating? Yeah, 20. I don't remember a time I wasn't. Yeah, probably 20 plus as well. Yeah, I know how old you both are, more or less, and I would say that when we were 12 years old or so, and we were in middle school, and we really started receiving comments about our bodies and things like that from friends, and really started absorbing things from the media. That I would say that that emotional eating pattern probably started at a really young age. So 20 years is a really long time. And I'm ready for it to be over for you. And because you are here, I know that you are too. So I'm going to give you the 3 main tools that help me overcome emotional eating. And as we go through them, I'm going to help you here in real time identify some things and integrate them. So before I do that, I want to let you know the definition more or less of emotional eating. And it's the propensity to eat in response to positive and negative emotions. So while the terms often refer to eating as a means of coping with negative emotions, it also includes eating for positive emotions. And so that could be like, eating foods when you're celebrating at an event, or, when you're out at like a holiday dinner or eating out at a restaurant, you like start kind of like stuffing your face. And that's usually because you're so used to being restrictive and off limits, but the thing that happens from a positive emotional eating pattern or a positive scenario, then comes the negative feelings as a result of this. Negative emotions are also things that when we're, suppressing our emotions, and so we use the emotional eating to just push our feelings down further. So emotional eating is not an issue with self-control, and it is a means to suppress your emotions. So tool number 1, okay? And if you guys can, grab a piece of paper, we're going to be writing some things down. Tool number 1, forgiveness. Okay. And let me know, just say in the chat me, who here is guilty of negative self-talk? Okay. I know I am. We all are. It's negative self-talk are those things that run through your head where you're like saying really mean things to yourself about yourself all the time. So just drop it in the chat and give me a me if this is you. And so now it may seem really strange and quite simple for me to say, forgive yourself, but it is the first and one of the most important steps in this process. And I'm going to show you how. So share in the chat, what are the things that go through your head during a binge? Okay, so while you're sitting there with the chips, with the cookies, with the candy, whatever it is, what are the things that are going through your head at that particular time? Let me know in the chat. And again, if you're at home watching this on replay, I want you to write these things down for yourself. You've got to get them down. You've got to get them out on paper. Okay, so share it in the chat. Let me know what are the things that are going through your head. I think I'm not thinking. I go a bit numb. Yes. Yes, same, exactly. Right? Like we kind of get into this frenzy. Yeah, your brain blanks. Yes. Okay, we get into this crazy frenzy in our heads. We're not thinking in that moment. What goes through your head after? Okay, so sorry. So after the binge, you're sitting there, you ate all the food. Now what's going through your head? What are you saying to yourself about yourself? After the fact, what are you saying to yourself about yourself? That I'm getting further from where I want to be. And I feel guilty. I feel ashamed. Yep, guilt and shame around food. Shame. Yeah, that's a horrible thing. And, it's a horrible thing to feel about ourselves. Like you would never want a friend or family member who suffer from, emotional eating to feel shame, to feel guilt. We don't want to raise our kids to feel guilty about food or to feel guilty about an action that you take. So we're the most judgmental, we're the hardest on ourselves. And look, that's what, everything aside, that's like, we grew up in a perfectionist, high achieving society. So this is completely normal. Like guilt and shame are the opposite of like perfection, right? And so like we were built into a society to feel these things. The thing is that we don't normally realize how much we are doing it, like how much we feel guilty about ourselves, about our actions, and like how really fucking mean we are to ourselves. Okay. So make sure you have these written down, because the reason I ask you to write things down is because we need to be aware. Okay. And the second part is when we're aware of it, when it's down on paper, it's out of our heads instead of just constantly keeping it inside in that negative self-talk, because that negative self-talk is then what's going to drive you to your next binge, right? So being in our heads, not expressing ourselves fully, not expressing ourselves out loud, not expressing our needs is really what got us into this place in the first place. Okay, so no more of that. We want to write it down. And I want you to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself that you had the binge. Forgive yourself that, you went numb. Forgive yourself that you went out to the store to buy the stuff. Forgive yourself that you feel guilty. Forgive yourself that this happened. And every time that it happens, because following this workshop, I'm sure it'll happen again, okay? Because this is a process that takes time. Stop the mean dialogue that you have in your head about yourself and just take a second to forgive yourself. Okay, so a good tool that comes along with forgiveness is, or like an action you can take, is to set a reminder on your phone and journal for 5 minutes a night. Okay, so that means you can literally pen and paper. I'm a pen and paper kind of girl. You can write in your phone. Okay, so even before you're going to bed. Okay, set a reminder on your phone, 5 minutes, set the timer for 5 minutes, and just start to brain dump at the end of the day. Okay, so I set a timer for 5 minutes on my phone and I just start writing everything that comes into my head. Now, the first time you do this, it can be as silly as like, okay, I'm writing everything down. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I ate a hamburger for dinner. I walked the dog, and then tomorrow I have to do X, Y, Z. And it might start off like that. But then after a while, or like even after those first couple of sentences, you're going to start tapping in to just getting your words, your feelings, everything that's in your head out on paper. And when we do that, we start to quiet the negative self-talk, and then you can take a look at this and be like, oh, wow, I was really mean up to myself about, not getting enough stuff done today at work. I forgive myself. I'm human. I did what I can today. Okay, so in terms of starting to write down how we feel, we can then stop and take a moment and forgive ourselves for feeling that way instead of feeling guilt or shame. Okay, and so this applies to everything, not just like a binge. Okay, tool number 2, trigger foods. Okay, so I want you on your piece of paper, you're going to make 2 columns. Sorry, you're going to make 2 columns. Okay, and you're going to list your go-to trigger foods. Okay, so these are the ones that when you start eating them, you can't stop. The ones you go to the corner store just to buy them. The ones you eat in secret and then like bury the wrapper in the garbage, if you're someone who lives with somebody else. The ones that at restaurants, that you have to finish the whole thing. Something like, French fries. Okay, so you're going to write down all of your trigger foods here. Then I want you next to it, write down next to each food the feeling. Okay, how does that food make you feel? Okay, how does that food make you feel? So I'm going to give you guys an example of this. So if I write down French fries, they generally make me feel bloated, oily, like a little sick after. Okay. If I write down like sour candy, you know, those like sour straws. Okay. If I write down sour straws, the feeling is guilt for me. Okay. Because sour straws happen to be one of like my binge foods. Okay. So for me, sour straws come with a lot of guilt. Also, you know, feeling sick, and then also feeling really sleepy because like that huge hit of sugar, then you have like, you know, your sugar crash after. Okay. So you're writing down what you're feeling with each of these foods. Okay. Now, I also want you to think about what foods are you craving. Okay. So this could also mean like, specifically after lunch, I crave chocolate. Okay. Or, you know, I will also think about what time of day that you generally find yourself searching in the fridge or cabinet for something to eat. Okay. So what do you generally, when you're searching in the cabinets, what type of food are you looking for? Is it salty? Is it sweet? Okay. So all of these kinds of foods are going on your trigger list. Okay, so if you can share in the chat, please, a couple of your foods and the feelings that go along with those foods. Okay, what are your main foods that you binge on? And what are the feelings that go with those foods? Okay, what are the foods? Cookies, feel the sugar high. Oh, yes. Cookies.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for joining us. We are just talking about our trigger foods. I'm just putting mute here. Okay. So main binge is cookies. Yeah, cookies is a big one. Can never just have one. But I also want to know what you're feeling. What feeling is associated with those cookies? Like after you eat the cookie, what are we feeling? Upset, mad at yourself, pissed, loaded. What is the feeling?
Oh, and I ate a cookie. I think it tastes good.
Rena, I'm just gonna, can you share it in the chat box? Annoyed at myself that I ate so many. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so we're feeling annoyed, we're feeling like a weird sugar high, we're feeling shame, we're feeling the guilt, we're feeling bloated, like we're not feeling good in our bodies. Okay, so I want to know and say, and tell me in the chat, everybody, do you feel restricted having these trigger foods in the house? Or do you feel free without the trigger foods in the house? Okay, so there are two types of people. There are the people who keep the foods in the house and they're off limits foods, they're restricted. Or there are people who are like, I don't even bring cookies into my house because I know they will get eaten and I always keep them out. They are not in my house unless I go to buy them to the store, go to the store to buy them specifically. Okay, so tell me if you're like, keep them in the house, feeling restricted all the time, or if you are a out of sight, out of mind. I can't keep them in the house, otherwise I'll eat all of them. Yeah. That's how I used to be too. I usually won't keep it in the house, but now I'm just out of control with Walt. Yeah, exactly. Like these, you know, the emotional eating, the binges can like go way beyond just these little snacks and become like a habit of like ordering Wolt and ordering out all the time. And then also what you're ordering when you're ordering out becomes a lot more than just like the one meal. Yeah, can't keep them in the house. Okay. So I feel free to decide, but decided not to keep it inside. Once a week, I go and buy specifically for that specific evening. Yeah, that can also be a really good tool when we are reintroducing trigger foods into our lives. So, you can have like that night a week that you go, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, whatever it is, you go, you buy the food and, you have it in like, your house because that's like what you're going to eat that evening. That's also a really good tool when we're reintroducing these foods. So you have your trigger food list. You have next to each one how it makes you feel. Now I want you to start playing with the idea of letting yourself have it. Okay. And this can be a really, really scary thing for some people. The afternoon snack, when you're at work and there's all that chocolate and the cookies and the cake and all that kind of stuff, and you're like craving something sweet. Start to toy with the idea, okay, this isn't off limits. I can have that whenever I want to. I don't have to wait for Friday or Saturday night to eat that. I can actually have that right now. Because the second we start to give ourselves permission, the food slowly stops becoming off limits. And then we learn that we can actually have one, that we don't have to finish the whole box because it is always going to be there. That food will always be there for you. Okay, so you can start to give yourself permission. Okay, so this is something that like you can toy around with yourself. Another thing that goes with this trigger food tool is start to get in touch with what you feel every day. Okay, so let's say you have your journal, you've got your brain dump 5 minutes every night. Another thing you can ask yourself is, what did I feel today? Okay, this is our major leading question. What did I feel today? I felt really annoyed all day because at work, X, Y, and Z happened. That person made me feel really small today. Or, the way that person looked at me made me feel really like conscious about my body because I am unhappy with my career right now. Like, I just really hate what I'm doing. And that makes me feel dissatisfied, like I have no motivation, and all I want to do is sit on the couch and watch Netflix and binge. If you have a baby at home, I feel like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, oh my God, what do? I don't know what I'm doing, right? Like, and that makes me feel like I'm a really bad mom, or I'm a really bad dad, or, like all of these things. Like, give your feelings a space, because again, what is emotional eating? It's suppressing our feelings. So on a daily basis, as a daily practice, you want to start checking in with you. What's going on in here has to come out onto a piece of paper or in the notes on your phone. I don't care where you write it down, but write it down. Okay, so at the end of the day, when you're brain dumping for 5 minutes, your major question for yourself is, what did I feel today? Okay. The next thing that goes with this is change the habit. Okay, so basically, if you usually come home from work and the first thing that you do is go to the cabinets, sit on the couch and eat food. Okay, or if your kids go to sleep and the first thing you do is run downstairs, put on Netflix, and then, have a binge on food. We want to change that habit. Okay, so we want to identify the thing that happens right before the binge. Okay, so drop it in the chat if you can identify what happens before the binge. What are you doing? Where are you coming from? What just finished that allows you to start this ritual? Okay, drop it in the chat. Baby screaming in my face. Yeah. Yeah. Stress at work. Okay, so stress at work. Is there a certain time of day? What's the time of day then that the binge happens? Like as soon as you finish work, you know, as soon as you shut off your computer, does it happen kind of like, okay, I've had dinner and then I shower and then the binge happens? Like identify like an exact moment, because we need that moment that we can implement a new behavior in instead. With the baby screaming in your face, Lana, I would say that a big thing for you to try to implement as much as possible is some sort of meal prep ritual so that you actually have food in the house for yourself, so that you're not just, you know, last minute thinking like, what am I going to eat? What am I ordering? And that's something that you can ask your partner for help with, you know, to help you cook, or that, you know, every Saturday give you an hour to cook for yourself so that you have food for the week. That's a really good tool for you to kind of come out of ordering Walt. Yeah, stress at work for me, it's usually late afternoon around 4 o'clock. Okay, so with stress, great, Lana, I'm good, I'm happy. Okay, so stress at work is a huge thing, right? Okay, so what can we do for stress relief instead of, you know, sitting and binging? Of course, what I like to say, workout, right? But how can we, it's really hard to come home, be at home, and then like lift ourselves up off the couch, change into the workout clothes and go to the workout, right? So we want to change that. We want to change that habit. We want to change that behavior. Okay. So basically what I would suggest is change into your workout clothes at work. Okay. And go straight to your workout, or if you're doing at home workouts, get home and you're working out, but you're already in your workout clothes. Another thing you can do is, let's say you already like worked out in the morning or something. Another thing you can do is, take a walk. Okay, so like walk home, or, you know, if you're on a bus, get off the bus early, you know, take that walk, clear your head to relieve yourself of some of that stress. Okay, we want to change the practice. Another thing you can do is the second you get home from work, run a bath for yourself. Like do some sort of like self-care routine. All right, that's what we're trying to go after here. You can also journal earlier. Okay, so Rena, Janessa, like you guys can like easily be like, okay, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, even if you're at work, like take a moment and start to write down your feelings. Like stop and have a check-in with yourself and be like, okay, I'm really stressed right now. I need a moment. And start to write some of those things down. Because then again, you're going to feel that it's out of your head and you're going to be able to bring your behavior into a different direction. Okay, so tool number 3, this is our last tool of today, is I like to call it fill up your cup. Okay, so this is a tool I use with my clients in the focus method. And this is one of, I mean, these are all important tools, but this is a tool that really helped me identify what I was unhappy with in my life, what I was dissatisfied with in my life. And when I started to take action to become more satisfied in my life as a whole, I stopped using food as a crutch and like for emotional eating. Okay, so I want you to, on your piece of paper, to write down area, okay, area of life. And we're going to go through these areas together. I have home environment, career, workouts, nutrition, overall health, relationships, social life, finances, education, like self-development, and happiness. Okay, so we have 10 areas of our lives. Okay, so area number 1 that you're going to write down is home environment. And I want you to give home environment a rating between 1 to 10. 1 being the lowest, the most unhappy, 10 being really happy. Okay, and I want you to share in the chat what your home environment. Give me the number and tell me, what is your rating of your home environment right now? 9, love it. You created your own little safe sanctuary space for yourself. 6, okay. You know, like in general, in this period of your life, how's your home environment? An 8, good. 8, good. Okay, so I want you, even if you are at an 8 or a 9, I want you to, in the next column over after the rating, identify your ideal vision for your home environment. Okay, so that can be, you know, I would actually love to see more plants around my house, because I think that would really, you know, bring in like this like calming, more meditative atmosphere. My ideal vision is that I get home and dinner is already ready. I don't need to think about what I'm going to eat. You know, my partner is helping out with the laundry. You know, like this can go, home environment is a very broad topic and it can go in a lot of different directions. But how do you want to improve your home environment? What is the ideal vision there? And then the next thing you're going to do after you've written down your ideal vision is an action plan. Okay, so between 1 to 3 things that you can do to start this improvement now. Buy plants. Ask for help around the house from your partner. Start meal prepping once a week. Ask for help from your in-laws, you know, if you've got like a, you know, baby, kids. In order to reach this ideal vision of your home environment, what do you need to do? Do you need to have a conversation with your partner to start to do things a little differently, like on both of your sides? Meal prepping. Yes, getting back on track with meal prepping. I love that. Okay, so that's like meal prepping. Great, that's your action plan. Okay, so get it into your calendar. When are you going to meal prep? Okay, so that's the first one. And again, if you guys like want, you guys can, you know, keep writing as we go, you know, after we finish this. The next thing is career. That's your next area, career. Okay, so you want to rate how satisfied you are in your career right now. Rate it from 1 to 10, drop it in the chat. And be honest with yourself. 5, oof. It seems to me like a 5, yeah, like a 5 could really, when I started to really overcome emotional eating, the biggest change I made was in my satisfaction with my career. I'm self-employed, but like with my career. And after I made those changes, the emotional eating just pretty much disappeared. Oh yeah, sure. Children. With your career, how satisfied are you with your career? From 1 to 10, rate it from 1 to 10. 9, nice, good. Janessa, 8, awesome, cool. Okay, and so what's your ideal vision? You know, for my 5ers, like, what do you want to change in your career? Are you so unhappy that, you know, you need to leave your job? Are you so unhappy that you want to completely change the field that you're working in? What is your ideal vision? And also for like my higher numbers, like 8 and 9, like think about what is something that can make your career feel better. Maybe your ideal vision is a bit more of a work-life balance, and then it would feel like a 10. Okay, so what's your ideal vision? And the next thing is an action plan. Okay, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do to improve this number? Are you going to start, networking and reaching out to see what other jobs are available? Are you going to sit down with yourself and think, okay, what am I really passionate about? What do I really want to do in this world? Is it setting boundaries at work? A hard stop time for yourself? Things like that. The next one is your workouts. How satisfied are we from 1 to 10 with our workout schedule? Drop it in the chat. Okay, workouts are really, really good stress relief. They're a really good way to process our emotions. So are you working out enough? Five, okay. We'll work on that then. Okay, what is your ideal vision then? If you're working out 2 or 3 times a week right now, 2 times a week, how can you make it 3? How can you make it 4? Okay, well, like what is your ideal vision for yourself? Is it 4 times a week? And then what do you need to put that plan of action into place? Okay, so I'm working out twice a week right now. I need to figure out a time in my schedule that I can make it 3 times, make it 4 times. Have your backup day. Okay, if one day doesn't work out, what's your backup day? Nutrition, the next area, the 4th area is nutrition. Okay, so I want you to rate it from 1 to 10. How are we feeling with nutrition? Okay, and this is like everything. Could feel like you feel like you're lost. It could feel like you're like on a meal plan, but it's actually really restrictive, causing you to head more towards those trigger foods or to binge on those trigger foods because you're so restrictive with yourself during the week. Okay, so how would you say your rating with nutrition is? What's your ideal vision for yourself? Meal prepping. Having, whole grain foods in the house. Understanding nutrition, like actually what do each of these foods I eat, how do they fuel my body? And then taking a plan of action. Okay, so like again, improving your home environment. If you said, starting to meal prep, then your action plan is meal prepping. Same thing with your nutrition. You're going to start meal prepping. That's great. Your overall health is the next one. Okay, that's our 5th area, overall health. You want to rate that from 1 to 10. What is your ideal vision? Is it getting a massage for yourself once every month, once every 2 months because you're working out, or just because you want to relax and that's, a great way for self-care? Is it having, an interest in meditation and starting a meditation practice for yourself? Is it using less, cleaning products around the house, and you want to switch out your cleaning products to things that are more environmentally friendly, so that you're not inhaling so many, bad chemicals, things like that. Okay, ideal vision, action plan. Next is relationships. How satisfied are you in your relationship right now? If you're not in a relationship, how satisfied are you with being alone right now? Okay, so I want you to rate that. What is your ideal vision for yourself? If you're in a partnership, what is your ideal vision for your relationship? You know, we've got kids at home now. Things are really different than they used to be. What do I want our relationship to look like? What are three things that we can start doing to change that? Date night. No cell phones during dinner. Having a conversation that I've been putting off having with that person about my expectations, about my wants, my needs, and that other person's wants and needs as well. If you are not in a relationship, what's your ideal vision for a partner? Write it down for yourself. Have that written down for yourself. What do you want in a partnership? Because if we don't know and we're wishy-washy, it's really hard to welcome something like that into our lives. Okay, and then action plan. Are you going to go back on that dating app again? Maybe. Are you going to go out with the friend that they wanted on the blind, that they want to set you up on the blind date? If you're in a partnership, again, what's your action plan? Hard conversation that you need to have. Scheduling in a date night. Anything like that. Next thing, social life. Okay, we're in COVID. Our social lives aren't great right now. Okay, but your social life, what activities are you doing? Okay, rating that from 1 to 10, then ideal vision, then action plan. Finances is your next one. How happy are you satisfied with your financial situation right now? What would your ideal financial situation be? What action steps do you need to take? Start managing your money in a different way, start investing your money. Okay, those kinds of things. Education, self-development. When we are creatures of learning, we are always learning. In our jobs, we have mentorships, we have advanced learning curriculums, we're always learning new skills. So do you want to go back to school? Do you want to learn more about nutrition, about your body, understand, so you can finally know what the hell to eat? What is going to, mindset work? What is going to improve your life? What do you want to learn? Rating it, ideal vision, action plan. And the last one, and definitely not the least, is happiness. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you actually? This one I want you to drop in the chat. How happy are you? Oh, being totally honest with yourself. How happy are you? 6, 7. How do we 8.5? Okay, good. These are above 5. I love that. These are above 5. Amazing. What do you need to do to make yourself happier? And it's usually taking a look at these other areas that you've rated in your life and finding ways to improve them. Okay, so again, I'm just going to list them off in case you missed one. And again, this is something that you guys should be sitting with and going back and taking a look at. Take the next month to be okay, I've just created a whole action plan for myself. Can I look at this every day or every week and actually start to make some changes? So home environment, career, workouts, nutrition, overall health, relationships, social life, finances, education or self-development, and happiness. Okay. So in order to, I want you to always refer back to this list. Okay. Back to these 3 tools, back to this list. I keep mine, taped up in my office. So that way, if I need a moment to remember and get back on track with my action plan, I can get back on track to like, okay, this is my ideal vision. Okay, I did that action item. I'm still not at my ideal vision. What do I do next? Okay, and then we can kind of step back into feeling like we're doing something about our situation. We're doing things that are going to give us those steps to make us feel happier. Okay, so when we're happier, we don't need to emotionally eat because we're constantly in a state of happiness rather than dissatisfaction. Okay, so always keep in mind, overcoming emotional eating is a process. Okay, you're not going to finish this workshop and be like, I'm cured. Woohoo, it will never happen again. I told you what happened to me with the bag of Doritos. I had to stop. I had to check in. Okay, so you need to choose to implement these tools on a daily basis. Implement them. If a binge happens, be like, okay, I'm going right back to these tools now. Before a binge happens, you can catch it by stopping and being like, okay, I'm feeling upset, frustrated, stressed. I'm going to start journaling. I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to go do my workout. And slowly but surely, as you integrate these tools more into your life, the more you take all these areas and start working your way towards happier, to more satisfied, to feeling more satisfied, the emotional eating really will just fade away. And along with that is to stop feeling so restrictive around foods. So no more ignoring you, no more ignoring your feelings. Put your feelings out there, write them down, say them out loud, even if you're talking to yourself. Stop putting foods on list of I can't have this, and start taking action to be more fulfilled in your life. So I want to thank you guys for joining me. If you're feeling like, dude, I need some help, I want to do things differently in 2022, I want to heal my relationship with food, I want to heal my relationship with my body, I want to lose weight, I want to sustain that weight loss, I want to keep it off, you can let me know, talk to me privately. I have one-on-one spots available in the Focus Method. I have the next group starting January 23rd. And then also, if you know someone who may benefit from hearing this, you'll be receiving the replay of all of this so that you can also go back and rewatch it if you want. You'll be receiving the replay in your email, so you can send it along. So thank you all very, very much for joining me today, live or replay, and I will see you soon. Bye.